Good afternoon.
You are welcome to today's class. It's been a pleasure spending a few hours with you guys, and then I hope we are learning from our classes. Today we'll be making a, please, the screen sharing has been disabled. Please do try and enable it for me.
Yeah, 1 sec.
Yeah. So today we'll continue from where we stopped last week. Our major interest was that we should be able to pull in data from different sources into our Power BI, into our Excel file. And then in this case, Power Query. That was our major interests. And so today we'll be looking at, after we've done that, what is the next thing for us to do? Yeah, so that's the next thing we'll be looking at. And then the next thing for us to do will be what we'll call, what we'll be looking at today. So we've been able to pull in data from our data source. And now we want to start looking at the next thing to do, which would be the 3 events. Please, can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right, perfect. All right, so the next thing we'll be looking at today is what next after we've done the first event. And today we'll be looking at data manipulations. Today is going to be as practical as it will be. We just have to be maybe a few things we look at, and then we'll always dive into the practical session of the class today. So we're going to be spending a lot of time on practical area. So first we'll be looking at sorting, looking at filtering, we're looking at removing duplicates, we're looking at splitting, and we're looking at how to merge data. So these are the things we'll be looking at today, and then we'll see how today will be. So first is sorting. When we talk about sorting, what do we mean? What are we looking at? Sorting is the process of arranging data into a meaningful order so that you can analyze it more efficiently. The process of arranging data into a meaningful order so that you can analyze it more efficiently. Let me give you a scenario. Let's say you are going around to collect data, or you've sent forms or any other means of data collection around, and then people are filling for you. You bear me witness that the way they're going to fill in the form, their names will not come back to you arranged alphabetically. You may find out that whilst you are collecting the data, some of them are A, some of them are Z, some of them are Q, some of them are different letters have started their names. And then if you're going to start sorting it out yourself one at a time before you start queuing them into the system, it's actually going to give you, it's routine. If you're going to be the one that's, all right, so the names have been written, and then you want to look at all the names that start with A, and then you enter, queue them in, all the letters, the ones that start with B, you queue them in, the ones that start with C, you queue them in. You're going to realize that it's going to take you a whole lot of time before you be able to finish queuing in this data. So, but if you're using Excel, it makes it so much easier for you to do. So it doesn't actually think of how the data has been arranged, whether they have been arranged alphabetically or they've been scattered in other way. It will just help you in sorting them in the right order. Please do turn on the AC for me. Yeah. So, and then the process of doing that is what I have on the right-hand side there. You see, first you have the place you're going to go. That is, you select the columns you need to sort. After you selected the column you need to sort, then you go to the home tab and then you go to sort group, select either ascending or descending order. That is how you go around it. So if you look at what I have there on my picture format, you're going to see that just on the heading of that column, I have a button there. And then when I click on that arrow down, then it allows me either to sort it ascending or descending, depending on how I want the data to be arranged. So once I have interest in arranging the data in a particular format, Excel is always one of the best places of getting it done. So let's just look as an get an example of that and see how it's going to be like. I'm going to share another screen and then we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to share a different screen where I will open Excel. So we are going to today, remember the last time we put data into Excel. So today I want us to start again, looking at how that data is going to be like. We'll put that data in again. So I'm sharing my Excel. Please, can you see my Excel file?
Yeah.
All right. So I want to pull in data again, like we did the last time. And at this time, I'm going to data, just like we did the last time. And then I'm going to get data from where I want to get my data from. This time, let me get some Excel file. I think Excel file would be good. So I'm going to pull in some Excel file, loading, waiting for it to load. Yeah, so I'm going to where my data is, and then I'm going to look for a particular data that I have interest on. So I'm pulling a data called sales underscore analysis underscore new. That is the data I'm pulling in for us to use for this exercise. And then I'm connecting to the data. And then soon my connection is established. Of course, as soon as my connection is established, I have access to data. Last week, I told you how to select from this range of data. Now I'm selecting just the sales data. That's what I have interest on. Remember too, I told you the last week that you can go through, view the data, what is inside the data, just by clicking on each of them to see what is in them, their content. You can just click to see what is inside of each of them. So I'm interested on the sales underscore data. And then instead of loading now, because I want to work on it, I'm actually going to say transform data. So I'm just going inside my workshop or my working environment where I'm going to work on this data. Yeah. So now my data is being loaded into my Power Query. So now if you look at, please, can you still see my screen?
Yep, I can. Yes.
All right, good. Now that my data has been loaded, I have, this is sales underscore data and I'm inside Power Query editor. That's where I am. And that's where I'm going to do my cleaning. That's where I'm going to do reschedule the data the way I want it to be. Remove the things I don't want, add a few things I need to be there, and then actually make my data more presentable. Last week, I told you that when you pull in data inside Power Query, it actually gives you a summary of what is happening in your data. And then per what you have happening there, you may have this green line. You see on this place, the green light is not actually full. When I point my cursor on it, it says giving me an overview of what's happening in my data. It's telling me I'm on column number 1. And then I have 99% valid data. The errors I have there is 1. And then I equally have empty spaces of 15%. So I have 1% of empty rows. So if I'm going through them, it means this is what I'm going to see, a summary of that particular column. So if I get to another column 2, it's equally going to give me the same summary of what is happening on that particular column 2, and then this is this, and then this is this. So till I get to the last column of my data, I can actually know exactly what is happening in my data even before I start doing cleaning. So I know if I have a lot of work to do, it gives me here a clue of what I have to do. Now, once I bring in my data here, last week I told you that if you bring in your data and you realize that what you have as the heading of your data is not what should be there, you should be able to adjust it. Now, what I mean by that is this. If you look at my row number 1, can you see row 1, please? Row 1. You see that row 1 and row 2 are all empty. There's nothing there. I have null to the end of that row. There's nothing there. And then when I get to row 3, that is where I now have region, country, item type, sales channel, order priority, and then every other thing. So that is actually the heading of the columns, but here now it has not been arranged that way. So the first thing I'll have to do is to remove these rows that I don't need. That is the first thing I have to do. And then to remove it is very, very simple to do. I come to reduce rows. Reduce rows. Under the home tab, you see reduce rows. So when I come there, I go to reduce or remove. Then I say remove top rows. When I click on it, it's going to load. When it loads, it will ask me, how many rows do I want to remove? Now, when I look at it, I see that it's 2 rows, the first and the second one that I don't need. Now, enter 2 there. And then I say, okay. When I say okay, then it takes care of that particular rule. That rule has been taken out. Now the rule is taken out. The next thing I have to do is, I'm sure this first rule has not been made the header, the row header. Remember, we talked about the row header as well. So if I go to where I have transform tab, if I go to my transform tab, I click on my transform tab, then I come to tables group, this group. When you see the place that say use first row as headers. I open that place. Use first row as headers. That's exactly what I want to do. So if that is what I want to do, then I click on it and say, yes, use that first row as headers. Now it has made that first row to be my header. Now, do you remember as well that I told you about this, my query settings on my right-hand side? I told you that applied steps gives you a breakdown of all the steps you've applied. So in a case where I want to take a step back, or I need to go back, or I've lost concentration, I can't really figure out what I'm doing now, or I'm not sure that what I've done is the right thing. I want to go back to the previous data on my previous step. Remember, I have those steps here. I can actually close any of the steps I want. And if I close any of this, cancel any of these steps, then it takes me back to the previous step. For example, I just said change type, or where I see it, promoted headers. That's what I did. I promoted the headers. So instead of making it first row, I've made that first row to be headers. So if I want to revert that action that I've just done, I'll close this button. You see, there's a button by the side that is closed. So you can actually close it, and then you'll be taken back to the previous step that you just took. So do remember that, because it's important for us. All right. Good. So having said that, now, so at least I am sure now that this is how my data is. Now, last week too, I told you about data types. I told you that when you look at the heading of each column, it will tell you the kind of data that you're going to find, you're going to see inside that column. So if you look at the first column, that's the regions column, you're going to see that you have ABC, meaning it's text. Now, if I don't know exactly the kind of data type that is here, I can click on that column and then look up. I'll just look up here. Please, can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Yeah.
Someone see my cursor? All right. So I look up here and then I go to where I have data type. When I look at that place, it will tell me the data type that is used on that column. So if I don't know what kind of data type that I've used here, I can just look up here. It will tell me what data type is here. But if I just look at ABC, then it's going to tell me it's text. So now if I've looked here and I've seen that ABC means text, then I can comfortably scroll through the other rest of the columns, trying to see, all right, now this place to have other dates and this is equally text. I can continue. Now, when I come to ship dates, I have 1, 2, 3. And then when I click on it, if I go back there, you see that now the data type there is whole number. Now, if I go to the next one, sold, units sold, if I look up there again, it's going to be whole numbers. Now, the same thing, if I scroll down, all the places where I have digits should be either whole numbers, decimals, or whatever thing I want them to be. All right. Now, let's come back a bit. Now, what I want to do at first currently is to sort. And then we've said that to sort means to arrange. Now, to sort, there are two ways we can do it whilst we are in Power Query. The first and the easiest way of doing it is on that particular column where you are, you click on this arrow. When you click on this arrow on that particular column where you are, it opens up this dialog box for you. And then within this dialog box, you can perform certain things. And then what you want to do now is sort. So you just see you can sort ascending, or you can sort descending. Depending on the particular kind of sorting arrangement you want to perform, you can actually select it. So let's say I want to do ascending. I click on ascending, and then it's going to do that for me. So now it has done ascending orders for me. Now, as it did it, I realized that I have so many now values. I have a lot of now values. See, a whole lot of now values before where my data now started coming. Now, this is my data, and then it started from Asia, which is ascending order. So it started from all Asia values, and then I come in till I get to the last points of my data, wherever the data stops, and then I'm going to have it in that order. So that is how you sort. So you can actually sort a particular column. You can equally sort multiple columns. So if I want to sort more than one column, I'll select how many columns I want, click on the first one, hold down, depending on what to do. If I want to select intermediate, that means select, I don't want to select the next one to, let's say I want to select region and then item, and not region, country, item. I want to select region. Okay, let me go this way. If I want to select region, country, item, then I'll hold down my shift key, and then I click on country, I click on item, I click on sales channel. So this way I'll select all of them. Or I can equally say, all right, I click on the first one and I hold down my control key and I click on the last one I want to select. So if I don't want to be doing it one, selecting each column each time, each column each time, and I will know I want to select everything within this range, I can actually click on the first column and then hold down my shift key on my keyboard, shift key on the keyboard. All right, so when I hold the shift key on the keyboard, I go to the last column I want to select, that is part of my selection, and then I click on that column. In that way, it selects the entire column for me, and then it will allow me to do what I want to do. So if I want, again, I can sort them ascending or descending. The same thing, let me go back and say, okay, sort descending. It's going to sort everything descending in that order as well. So let me scroll down and see if it's doing that for me. Okay, still doing that. Good. So all right. I think this didn't do that for me. Yeah. All right. So if I want to sort, of course, multiple, let me undo what I've done before. So of course, if I want to clear my sort, please, there's a clear button here. I can clear the sort, the one I've just done. Yeah. If I want to clear this one too, I can clear this. There's a sort clear sort here. I can clear it. And then my data is returned back to the previous set or section or display or how it was arranged at the first time. Yeah. So sorting, this is how we sort. Now, I want to look at something different. The same sort again, if I want to sort as well, there is a button called sort as well on our screen. If you see, when we looked at the PowerPoint presentation, I told you that there's a button called sort that is on the home tab. You see the sort group. So if I go back to my home tab, Please, can you see can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see the Excel.
The Excel. Okay, perfect. All right. So if I still come back to this is my home tab, and then this is the home tab opened. I open my home tab, and then I'm going to see a sort group. This is sort group. So if I equally want to sort, if I don't want to, you come here and use the button here. I can actually use the same button here that does similar thing. So the first one is A to Z, and then the next one is Z to A. All right, so that is how sorting works. Now, aside that too, the next thing we want to look at is, so after we finish arranging, of course, we can arrange it anyhow, depending on what we want to do, maybe alphabetically from A to Z or from Z to A. After arranging that, the next thing that will be important for us to do would be maybe to select, to filter. So let's say I'm interested on a particular, let me say I'm using the region for an example. So that is the next thing on our presentation slide. And then that is on filtering. And then under filtering, we said that with filters, please, can you see my screen? The PowerPoint?
I can see the Excel.
Okay, let me share
There's no
this.
PowerPoint.
Okay, let me share it. Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Yeah.
All right. So to filter the data, it is a function that takes the data from a range of cells and outputs an array of data that matches the applied filter or the condition. Filters are automated process that can refine a list, tables, or spreadsheet based on a single or multiple criteria. So what we mean by that is, if is a function, right? So we're not expected to actually start writing a function, but when we select filter and then we are filtering, it's actually a function that's been written that when this is applied, when this is done, perform a certain action, this kind of actions. And what action is going to perform is it will try to select range of cells or data out of the whole lot of data out of the whole data set you have. It will select some group of data that meets our criteria. Now, the criteria we are going to apply could be, all right, maybe let's say, let me go back to our data field, our data again, and then let's see what criteria we could apply there and see how it's going to be like. So I'm going back again to my Excel file. I hope you can see my screen again, my Excel file now. All right, so if you can see my Excel file, I want to apply some filter on my region group. Now my region column, where I have the column region, I want to apply some filter there and see what it's going to look like. Now let's say as a data analyst, you are working for a company and then this is the data they have. These are certain data from different regions and from different countries about the products the company sells. And then what is it? Of course, if you can look at here, you see these are the regions where the company operates. These are the countries where they have offices and branches. And then this is the type of items they sell. These are different types of items they sell. And then the next group, the next column will have what the channel, the type of channel that is used in each of these countries or in each of these region. Then the next one is the order priority. What is the priority of the orders that are being placed? The next is order ID and dates. Then the next will have shipping dates. Then we'll have the next one, units sold, and then we'll have unit price, we'll have costs, we'll have total revenue, and then you have total cost and total profits made from the company. So these are data collected from a company for a particular period of time. Now, our challenge now is the company is saying, we want to see just data relating to our regions in Asia. want to see the data from Asia. So now, of course, normally what you should have done is to start looking down from Asia. This is the first Asia, we'll mark it, and then look at the next Asia and start seeing how we can scroll down and try to see how we can put those data together. But with Excel and then in Power Query, it's actually very easy for us to do. So all you need to do is come to the top of that particular column you are interested on, open that tab, and then when you look down, you're going to see filter, text filter. Because we are dealing with text, it's called text filter. And then when you look down a bit, you're going to see a search button. And then below the search button, you're going to see a whole lot of regions. So all the regions that are present within this data set are all here uniquely. Now, for example, if I am to ask you and say, how many regions do we have in our data set? You may start trying to say, okay, the number of regions we have, all right, we have Sub-Saharan Africa, we have Europe, we have Middle East, we have Europe, we have Africa, we have Asia, the ones you can see, and then you start scrolling down again, trying to see the rest of the regions we have. But if you keep doing that, you're going to see that it will take you a whole lot of time before you get to the end of the file, because then there may even be some repetitions, you may have some mistakes, some errors, because you are trying to get unique ID or data. But if you go through the head of the data, column heads, we call the column heads. If you come to the column heads and then you open the arrow, it gives you at a glance, uniquely, all the data you have. There will not be repetition. Even if we have Northern America repeating 10 times in your data set, when you come to this place, it's just going to be one instance. So one instance of Asia, one instance of Australia, one instance of Central America, one instance of Europe, one instance of Middle East, North America, Sub-Saharan Africa. Now we have 3 Sub-Saharan Africa here. That means when they were entering the data, there was some problem. They made some mistakes. That's why here we have 3 unique Sub-Saharan Africa. And if you look at them, that's the same spelling. So there's a mistake when they're entering the data in the Excel file. And saying one of our responsibility or duty is to correct it. So just by looking at this place, I'm looking at, and I'm sure that probably we have about 8 different regions that we are operating on, we're operating from. And so if I'm sure of that, and then the company is saying, or management is saying, they just need to see the data from Asia. Now, what I'll do is I'll check. You see the buttons are all checked. I'll click on select all again. Once I click on select all, and then everything is deselected, I just check only the one I need, which is Asia. And when I click on it, and then I say, okay, it's going to load only the data from Asia. So with this, I am sure that all the data I have here are just data relating to Asia. I'm not going to get any other data that is not from Asia region. And then with that, I can print this and submit it to management. I say, all right, this is exactly the data from Asia. All right, so that is how we're going to do. So if in an event, I want to see another region, let's say I want to see maybe a different region that is not Asia. I want to see, let's say, Central America. That's what I want to see, or North America. Let me see North America. I can click, just check North America, and then say, okay. And it's going to load the data from North America for me. So this is how you use filtering to select data. Now, there's another instance. Let's say I want to select regions from North America and Central America. So I'll check that as well in combination with alongside the first one I've selected, that's North America. And then I say, okay. When I say, okay, it's going to select Central America, all the data from that plot, that region, and then it's going to select as well data from North America. And in this case, it's not going to arrange them. So if I want to sort them again, I can now come back there and say, all right, I want you to sort it for me. And then it's going to sort that for me. So in this case now, I'm sure that it's going to sort it so that Central America will have to come first. And then when I'm done with Central America, then I can start having data from North America. So it's still loading my data. Still loading the data. So sometimes, few times, and then it's going to finish. Yeah, so you see below Central America, I start to have data from North America because I've said sort it for me when you finish. And if you look at my data at the moment, if you look on top of the below the region, if I point my cursor on it now, you see that region I have 100% valid. There's nothing like maybe having a null value there. I don't have any null value. I have 100% value. Then I have 0% error and I have 0% empty space. So everything is full. And then you see my green light is full. That means I don't have any error. I don't have any problem with regards to this data. All right. So that is exactly how sorting, how the filtering starts. And if I go back again and I say, okay, I want to bring back all my data. And then I've printed this report and I've given it, submitted it to management. Now I want my data fully back. So what will I do? What I'm going to do is I'll just come down and say, all right, click on my select all. And then maybe say, I can see that and then say, okay. When I say, okay, supposed to pull back my data of my data for me. Let me see. So it's gone off a bit. Regions, filter. Oh yeah, I use sorts. So let me clear my sorts. Load, no, cancel this. Come back, remove. Okay, come back to this. Select all. Clear filter. Okay, so go back. Remove empty again. Now go back. Filter no. My data didn't load everything. All right, so let me quickly do this. I think it's important to. Now I have some null values, empty spaces that was up among my data. So if I come to my null values and then I select it and I say, okay, let me see if we're going to load them for me. So I can, okay, this it's not there, but I'm going to look them back and actually need them. All right, so let me come back from this place and then close this and close this and close this. I'm back again to my data again from where I promoted my data. So if I look inside my data again, you see because I want to take step backwards to be able to go back to my previous data where I have the full data, I have to come here and close some of the things I've applied to go back. Now, within here, this is my regions. My data is here complete. If I uncheck this and I check all the null values, I can see all my null values at the moment. So these are the values, the places I have null values. And then if I have my null values like this, I can decide to delete all of them if I want to delete them. Of course, they're not important for me. So the best thing for me to do will be to remove them. So, but we'll come to that, how we'll get around that when we get to that point. So at the moment, we are trying to see how do we select, how do we filter. Now, the next thing I could do is go back again. Now, when I finish my work or finish filtering, when I come back, I'll see clear filter. If I want to clear what I have done already, I'll click on clear filter and then it's going to clear what I have just applied. So that was what I was doing the previous time. And then I came back here. So I can come back here now and say, all right, let's say what I want to do is I want to select all the regions from Europe and then Middle East and then maybe, yes, and then Central America. Maybe that's what I want to do. Or let's say I want to select Australia and Europe. That's what I want to do. So I want to check everything and then select Australia and then select Europe and then say, okay. Now, please do know that the essence of doing this is when I finish and I've printed this and submitted, or use it for the purpose, whatever purpose I want to do, I should be able to restore back my data to its original form. So that is why when I finish and then I've printed this or presented this to management or to whoever that is interested on it, I come back again to my tab and then I say clear the filter because I still want to have access to the full data set that I have. So please do take note of that so that you wouldn't confuse yourself, because if you keep filtering, as you keep filtering and then the steps keep adding here, you get to a point where it's like you want to have access to the whole data again, and it's like you're not getting access to it. If that happens to you, just know that it is because of the steps you have taken. So just take a few steps back and then you're going to get your data full again, and you're going to continue whatever thing you want to do. So that is how we'll go around it. But then equally do remember or do take to account that before you start filtering is because you want to produce a report, or maybe you don't want to use the whole data you have for your analysis. So you want to select some certain section of the data or some part of the data for analysis. That is an event where this will be important. For example, if my interest is, I want to see how the company or the organization is behaving. How are they faring in a certain region? Or I want to compare what is our total sales or our total revenue in this region to the other region. Maybe if that is my interest, then there's a need for me to do what I'm trying to do. So in that case, let's say if I want to compare between Europe and Africa, or I want to compare between Africa and Asia, I want to compare between different countries or regions, then in that case, it will be important for me to use this principle we are using now, so that I'll come to the first region. I select the first region I'm interested on. I'm interested on Australia. I select Australia, and then I see what is happening in Australia. So let's say I'm interested on Australia, and then I'm looking at our total revenue from Australia. If that is my interest, this is our total revenue. This revenue, I can go down to where we'll have our last row on this data set. Let me just go down there with a click, control down. All right. So I'm going down to the last. So when I get to my last row where I have my last data, then I will be able to maybe perform a calculation, sum all the data that I have there, and then I'm going to get the total revenue from that particular region. And then I pick the next country or next region that I'm interested on, equally go to the column that is called total revenue, get the sum of the total revenue that is coming from that region, and then I'll be able to compare. All right, so these are total revenue from Africa, these are total revenue from this region, these are total revenue from the other region. Then I'll be able to make my comparison and know exactly how we are faring. Don't worry, when we get to, we are going to do some comparison, some analysis. We're going to be using that. Today, we're just looking at a few things, but I want to use it to equally emphasize some other things, because we may not come back again to do certain things here. So first, we have been able to see how to sort or arrange our data, either ascending or in descending order. Please do note, it's not only text. If you have numbers, you can equally arrange them in the same format. So if I come to my unit price, so let me use unit price, and then I click on my unit price. You see, what I'm going to have there is, of course, sort ascending or sort descending. So it's actually supposed to be from largest to smallest, or from smallest to largest. All right. So if I say, let me say I'm sorting from, I want to sort this column by ascending. And then ascending is going to give me this, that is from smallest value to the largest value. See, it started from 9 point something, and then it's going to continue with that perspective. So from 9, after 9, I go to 47, and then after 47, I continue to in that order. So please do take note of that. If you are seeing, when you come here and then you see ascending and descending, if you're using normal Excel, it could have been smallest to largest or from largest to smallest. But inside Power Query, they still mean the same thing. So smallest to largest still means ascending from the smallest one to the largest one. Now descending means the other way, reverse from largest to the smallest. So whichever format you want to use, please do note, you can still use this one to still do it. All right, so that is for that. And then if you're going to equally use filtering, it's equally possible. Let's say I want to filter, I just want to see our price list, unit price that is 9.33. That's my interest. Then I uncheck everything and then I say, pick that price list. I want to see just that price list. And then this is only the price list that is 9.33. From here, we can't see any other price list, if not 9.33. So this is how we can use filter to actually help us perform our analysis. So filtering is very important because it's going to help you in trying to select from the whole range or bulk of data you have, and then narrow down your analysis to a particular range or section or area. So filtering will be very, very important for us. Now, within filtering too, of course, remember I said, when you're done, you can always come and say, clear the filter. And then when you clear the filter, it's going to be reverted back to your previous data set. All right, so I can still go back there and say my data, because I've gone through the next column, so I can still come back here and clear this, and then clear this, and then I should be able to have my data back. Now, I want to show you a few things more. Now, if you look at where we'll have ship dates, you'll bear witness with me that this is not the normal dates format we know. So how do we convert this to the normal date format we know? It's very simple to do. If you look at this, it is called, when I go back to transform, the type there is called whole number. So what I'm going to do is I'll click on that place and then I select dates. When I select dates, it's going to ask me a question. The question is what I want to do. Do I want to replace the current place? I want to add a new step. So if I say I want to do this action on the current place I am, it means it will not add a step for me under applied steps. Step will not be added if I say replace current. But if I say add a step, then it means it will do the action and then add a step for me. So depending on my choice, whichever thing I want to use, I can actually say, so let me say add a step. You see, a step has been added here. Change, so change type. And then that's, you have been added a step. Now, if I look at my data now, is now a date format. Now, that is one. So, and as part of what you'll be doing when you bring your data inside this place, part of the things you'll be doing is trying to ensure that every data type is correct. All your groups, all your columns have the right data type. If the data type they have is not correct, it is your responsibility to change them to the right data type. Now, having said that, that's not the only place you have an error. There's another place you have a problem too. If you come down a bit to where we'll have here, this place. Okay, I think I will use it the other time. You will see here we'll have other dates and ID. So they've added two things together in one column. It should actually be separated in different columns, but they've added it in one column. It's equally not the right thing to do. So as part of our responsibility, we are going to split that place to make it right. Now, there's another thing to have to do here. That thing we're going to do is, if you, last week I told you that one of the properties of a good data is that there should be consistency, right? There should be consistency. Now, if you look at the column called countries, you're going to see something. First, the first row is Chad, and then Chad is spelled all caps, uppercase, everything is uppercase. Now, if you get down to the next row, you see that it started with capital letter and the rest are small letters. Now, if you come down to row number 7, you're going to see that it is all small letters. So there's inconsistency. And then as part of our work, we are supposed to have consistency. So if we're going to get that done, what we're going to do is we click on that column or please do remember what you're applying to one column, you can equally apply to multiple columns. So if I'm not sure of what is happening here, I can equally click this place and then select all the places where I have texts and then do that first. So all the places I have text, I select, and then when I select all the places I have text, now the next thing I'm going to do is to remove that extra line or extra spaces that has been added to some of them. So some of them have extra spaces. For example, if you look at that same country column, you see that Botswana has extra spaces as well. So those extra spaces, we want to remove them, get rid of them, because they're not actually part of our data. And then they're going to affect our data because they'll be counted as, if you're going to count how many data you have inside that place, those extra spaces will be counted. Meanwhile, they shouldn't be counted because they're not part of the data. So what we are going to do is to remove those extra spaces. And then for us to remove them is actually very easy for us to do, or it's easy for us to do. So you come to formats. Under transform tab, you come to this column called text columns, and then you click on transform button, and then you see trim. Want to trim the data. And then as you trim the data, if you look within the data now, is that everything has been aligned the same. So that is one thing we're going to do. So each time you select, remember, I've selected a range, not just one. So if I want to do it just for one column, I can select just that one column, but I've applied it to a range of data so that it's not just one particular column I am doing it, I'm applying it to. Now, after that, the next thing I am looking at the same thing, I'm still looking at that same column called countries, and then I want to make them uniform. So if I'm using capital letters, I want to make sure everything is capital letters. If I'm using small letters, I want to make sure everything is small letters. If I'm using sentence case, I want to make sure everything is sentence case. So that is the next thing I have to do. And then if I'm going to do that, it is equally very easy for us to do using this very particular Power Query. So what I will do is, let me come to home tab. And then under my home tab, I'm going to, okay, what I want to do is manage my parameters. No. Just a minute. Let me get it where I have kept it. No, no, this is tracks. No, this is where is it? Is this? All right. Just a minute, please. All right. That's okay. So I'm going back again. I just messed up. It's same place where I was. Please, I'm trying to admit some people into the group. So some people are still joining us, and then we are going to admit them. So just admit all.
Thank you, Jude. Appreciate that.
All right. All right. Okay, so now I want to make sure that everything is on the same case. So if I want to use capital case, I want to use the same thing. If I want to use small letters, then I want to use the same thing. So remember, select the first column and then click on the last column that you want to perform that action activities on. And then come back to the same place where we are, test column group that is under transform, and then you go to formats again. And then under format, you see aside lowercase, uppercase, capitalize each word, trim, clean. Now, I want you to look up for clean for me. When I use clean, what is clean going to do for me? I know what it will do, but look it up for me and see what is clean going to do for me. All right. So now I want to use capitalize each word. If I say capitalize each word, it means in a cell where I have more than 2 words, then the first word of the first letter of each word will be capitalized. That is what it's going to do for me. Now, so that's what I want to do. And then I'll say capitalize each word. Now, if I go back again now, and then I scroll through all my data set, I'll have uniformity. So consistency has been applied, because now for each text or for each cell, I have each word in capital letter, each word in capital letter. I won't have some of them going for upper cases, some coming for lower cases, some coming for capitalizing sentence case. No, now everything is correctly formatted. So that is one thing you're going to do. If you have interest in making everything uppercase, if that is your interest, you click on uppercase, and then you see everything will be converted to uppercase. So depending on your choice or the demand of what you are doing, you can actually choose the kind of format you need. But for our purpose and in general, most times you're going to be using the capitalizing each word. So that is another thing you have to take into account or into mind. Now, let me quickly tell you what the other one is going to do for us. That's the clean. Maybe at the end of the day, I'll give you another assignment of what you're going to do. So when you use clean, if you have some extra characters, maybe so that I've used some uppercase, some ampersand, @ maybe $, and all those symbols. If symbols have been added to your work and I want to get rid of them, you use clean. Clean will take rid of all those those things from you, and then your data will be clean as well. Yeah. So now, so that is how we work around it. So now the first thing we've been able to do here, we've been able to sort our data, we'll be able to filter our data, and then now I've shown you as well how to trim your data so that you remove all the extra spaces that you have within the data. Now, I've equally shown you again how to convert your data to a particular case. So if it is lowercase, if it is uppercase, if it is sentence case, I have shown you equally how to do it. And then I've equally told you how or what clean is going to be used for in our data analysis. So these are the few things you should take note of was when each time you bring your data here. Now, another thing we're going to note here is, of course, remember this place is called a formula bar, and depending on where you are, it's going to actually pull the data that you have there for you to be able to telling you exactly what is happening there. So at the first, we are using a table, and then we are in a place called transform, and then we are in transform columns, and then we have uppercase text. Of course, initially it was uppercase case text, and then within that we'll have regions. This is our region column, and then we'll have text is proper. Proper means first letter of each word is capital letter. That is what it means by text dot proper. Then the type of thing that is there is text. Type could be number. Type, that's the type is talking about here is the data type. That is what it means by type. So when you see type, it means the data type. What kind of data type is there? Text. And then that is an information about the first column, which is called group, region. Now, after that, you get to the next one, you see comma has been applied, and then you open another curly bracket and you have another item, and then it's called country. And then inside country, we equally have done text.proper, the same thing we did, trying to make sure that everything is in the normal case sentence. And then after that, we have equally said the type of what should be there should be text. So if you scroll down to the end of it, you see that for each column is going to tell you what you have done and then what data type is existing in that particular column. So that is a brief or roundoff of what is what is here. So that I'll be able to know what is there. Now, after that, so that is about sorting and filtering. Now, if with filtering as well, when you go back there, there is what we call filter, text filter. With text filter, let's say in a scenario or an instance where I don't really want to do it based on a country. So for example, I want to come to country columns, and then within the country column, I want to perform filter, but I don't want to use just what I have here. Afghanistan's, Albania, Algeria, all this. I don't want to use this to filter. I want to use this particular filter called text filter. What is it going to help me do? It's going to give me some advanced filtering capability. For example, when you scroll down, you get there, you see that I have the first thing there is equals. Now, if I'm looking for a specific, I want to be exact. I want to be sure that I'm looking for, maybe let's say, I'm looking for a country called, let's say this, my country list is actually very long. In an event where I have a very long country, and then I'm interested in a particular country, and I don't know if exactly that country there. Of course, I can equally search from here. I can search. If I say I'm looking for US, let me see if I can see United. Okay, so I start typing United States of America. That's what I wanted to type. You see, it pulls it up for me here, and then I have it here. So if I want that, I can actually use this button to search for what exactly I'm interested on. But this is equally another way of searching around. I can say I want to search for exactly looking for a particular thing. You see, when I pull that, it says apply one or more filter conditions to the rows in this table. Now I have basic and I have advanced. Let's use basic for a start. Now keep rows. So we are interested in keeping the rows where countries. So we are interested in a column called countries, where countries equals, if I have different options here, does not equal means it shouldn't be what I'm going to specify. Select all the rows that are not this, that is not equal. But if I say keep rows where countries is equal, it means the country I am going to enter here should be maintained. So every other country, I don't want to see them. I want you to take out every other country and just maintain just this country I am going to specify. Maybe that's what I want to do. Then I'll enter that country name here. So let me say I want to do that, and then I want to say I want to enter Cuba. I want you to keep all the country just where the country is equals Cuba. That's what I'm interested on. So if I do that, please let me admit some people, please. Some people are still joining us. So I'm trying to admit them to be able to be part of the program. All right. So if I say I want to keep rows where country is equals Cuba, and I say, okay. If you scroll down the country section now, you see that this is just all the countries that the rows are just where the country is Cuba. You won't find any other country on my data set again, because I have said I want it to be where the country is just Cuba. All right, so if that is what I want to do, that I can use that, that is equals. Now, if I say the other way around, let me go back the other way around and say, okay, what I want to do is I want to use same text filter, but I want to say where it is not equal. Then I'm go down there and say not equal to, and I'm still using Cuba again. We're going to see that now Cuba will not be part of our data set. Now I say, okay. Now, if I scroll down throughout my data set, I'm not going to find anything like Cuba, because already I have said I want to remove all the places where the data is, the country is Cuba. So Cuba wouldn't be part of my data set. So we use filter for very a lot of purposes. There are range, so many things you can use filter to do. And it's going to help you as a data analyst. So I can go back there again, come back. If I want to say, I want it to filter where it begins with, I have begins with, maybe I want to see where it begins with C. So if I say where it begins with C, it means it's going to select all the countries that starts with the letter C. It's different from saying contains. If I say contains C, it means whether C starts it, is in the middle or is in the end, it will add it. That is contain. But if I say begins, then it means C must start that country. If that country name starts with the letter C, then it's going to be selected. So if I say C, you see, these are all the countries that starts with C. Now, once again, Cuba wouldn't be here because our previous selection, we omitted Cuba. So if I want to add Cuba, I have to go back. It means I have to take a step back. Take a step back. And now you see that now Cuba is part of my selection because now Cuba is here, Chad is here, Czech is here in that order. So if I finish again and I want to sort it again, remember, I can always sort it ascending or descending. And then I'm going to have my data well arranged for me. Please, if you have any question, please do let me know. Type it in the comments in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and then ask your question, please. Yeah. Okay. And then if I'm too fast, you are struggling to catch up with me, please do let me know so that I'll be able to slow down. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So I'm going ahead again. Now, so that is what filter can help us do. So if I go back to filter again, let me say I'm closing this. I'm closing this too. Now, if I go back there again, and then I want to say, I want to filter again, and then I'm going back to test filter, and then there's ends with. There is another one called does not end with. There's another one called contains. That's what I was trying to explain. Contains the letter C. Is different from starts with C or begins with C. All right, then does not contain is equally there. So we can use any of these methods to apply our filter. And in that case, we'll be able to get exactly what we need from our data set. So this is in a simple shell how we can use filter. Now, there's another one here too. If you look at here, I have and then I have or. Now, what is the difference between and or? And means if I say select all the countries or select the rows or keep rows where country is equal to Cuba and country is equal to Algeria or equal to America. You see, I'm giving a criteria which must be true. It means any rule is going to select must be, of course, it's not going to be possible because no country is Cuba at the same time as America or there's no country like that. So you can't get the same country, two different data from the same different countries coming together. So it's not going to be possible. But if that is what I have, for example, let's say I want to use contains. I want to say select keep rows where countries contains C and contains D. Then it means in this case, the countries we want to keep should contain the letter C and the letter D. So if these two criteria are met, then the rows will be present for us. But if they are not true, then it will not be. All right, so let me say, and I say, okay, I hope we're going to get something. Sure. So now, you see, I said C and D. Now, if you look at the first one, Federated States of Macedonia, you see that I have D and then I have C. So it contains C and it contains D. Now, if I go to the next one, it contains C and it contains D. So the next one, it will contain, there must be D and C for it to be present. Now let me go back and clear this. And then I'm going back again. I want to apply the same thing, but then I want to use different thing. Let me say contains again. Contains Z, and then, and contains, let me say A. Let me see if I'm going to get something like that. And I say, okay, great. So I actually have something like that here. So that is how, and then if you look at the data size will continue to either reduce or increase depending on the size of what we are looking at. So the data we have here now must always contain what we have specified. It must contain A, and it must contain C, or it must contain D. So that is what, so when I'm using AND, what it means is that the two conditions I'm specifying must be true. It must meet those two conditions. If those two conditions are not met, then it wouldn't pull for me. Let me give an example. I'm using contains again, or I can equally change it anyways. So let me say here equals, I'm saying India. And then I'm saying and equals Cuba. So I'm saying skip rows where countries are equals India and countries are equals Cuba. Let's see what happens. Please, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Hello? All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. So can you see anything on my screen now? Do I have any data?
No, it's empty.
Sure, it's empty because there's no country that is equal to Cuba at the same time equal to India. That is why it's empty. That criteria is not met. All right. And then if you look at it here on our table format, now edit bar, it says capitalize each word, comma, each country equals India and country equals Cuba. It's not, we're not going to get that. There's no country equals to Cuba at the same time equal to Cuba. All right. So, but if I come back, maybe what I wanted to do is I want to select if it is Cuba or it is India, then it's a different thing. So I can say maybe I want to select more than two countries using the or sign. I can use that and say, all right, so what I actually want to do is not using the and. So if I use the and, it means the two conditions must be true before my data will be present. If the two conditions are not true, if one of them is not true, I will not have my answer. All right. But if I use the other radio button, that is
Oh, I think he's just frozen. We'll give him a second. Jude, I think you've just gone back onto mute there.
please, can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's back.
All right. Great. So now I'm using the next tab, which is all. And then I'm saying that when we use all, we are looking at our conditions we are going to specify. If one of the conditions is met, if one of the conditions is true, then we're going to have our data present. But if one of the conditions is not true, so one of them is true, we'll have our data present. If both are true, we're going to have our data present. If none of them is true, then we'll not get any answer. Is that right? So for the or sign to work, one or all our conditions must be true. If one or all our conditions are true, or will be working. We're going to have our data. But for and, if all the conditions are true, we will have our data. But if one or none of the conditions is true, we will not get our data present. That is for the and. So everything must be true for the and to work. But one, we just need at least one condition to be true for the all to work. So I'm still going to use the same thing again, India. I say keep rows where country equals India. Please, when you see me break a bit, means I'm admitting some people to the group. So please do bear with me. All right, so where country is equal to India and country is equal to Cuba. So that's my interest. And then I say, okay. Now, if you look, please, can you see my screen? Yeah, so my screen now, I have India, I have Cuba present. But aside these two countries, I'm not expected to see another country. I just have to have access to just these two countries called Cuba. And then I have access to Cuba and India. So that is what we can do. So that is how this all sign and unsigned and use. Please remember, I can always clear when I am done. All right, so that is how it is. We use the text filters to filter depending on what we want to do or what you have intention or in mind achieving using the filter rules. All right, now I've been able to show you how to select just from the drop down in our filter. That's you can just open this filter from here and you select a particular country of your interest, maybe one or multiple. If you want one, just uncheck and select the one you need. If you need multiples, then select just check the boxes of the countries you are interested on and then say, okay, it will be populated. I've already shown you that you can use a search here to search and then look for the country you are interested on, and then you can select them here. Now, I've shown you how to use the advanced filtering features where you have equals, you have does not equal, begins, and then even going a further step to show you how you can use the end, at what condition you need to end, and then at what condition you need the or. So you need the end when you want to make sure that two conditions are true. You want to ensure that this and this are present. You see, I used C and D. I want to make sure that the letter C and the letter D are present in that particular event. So once that I have that intention, ensuring that a particular thing is true in my data, then I use and. But when I want to check if one is present, maybe one is present, the other one is not present. If that is my intention, then I'll use or. Because or is going to give me a positive answer, or it's going to give my data, present my data for me if one or all my conditions are true. But if none of them is true, I will not get anything. If none of them is true, I won't get anything. But if one of them is true, I'll get my answer. And if I'm using the end, it means if all of them are true, I'll get my answer. But if one of them is true or none of them is true, I will not get my answer. I won't have any data present for me if one or all of them are not true. But if all of them are true, the conditions are all met, then I have my data present for me. Please, do you understand that? Good. I'm going back again to my presentation so that we'll continue from there, from where I was stopped. Good. So I hope you can see my screen. So that is how filter works. I've been able to show you how we use filter, and then all that we've been able to scroll through filter and see how it works. Now, the next thing is if we want to remove duplicates from our data. If we have duplicates values, and then we are not interested in those duplicates, we want to get rid of them, what do we do? How do we go around them? Now, Excel, this is equally a function. Removing duplicates is equally a function. And then it is a function that allows you and me to remove all repetitions of a particular data from our data set. So if I have one data repeating so many times, and I don't want the repetition, I use remove duplicates to get rid of them. Now, the duplicate checking formula uses count if to count which cell or cells contain data that appears more than once throughout the sheet. So as it goes through, it's checking, okay, this one, let's see how many times has it occurred? This one, how many times has it occurred? This one, how many times? So it tries to use count if, count Cuba or count Australia. So it uses if to check how many times they have occurred. So resulting values can either be true or false. Of course, it can be true, indicating there's a duplicate. If it is true, count if it's true, then it means there's a duplicate, or false, meaning there's no duplicate. So if there's no duplicate, it's going to return false. If it's true, it's going to return what exactly we are looking for. So all right, let's see how we use that. Now to use that again, you see where it is. You go to Home tab, and then you go to Remove, Reduce Cells, Reduce Rows, and then you're going to see that. So let's go down and see. Yeah, so today, go back there and pull our Excel file. Good. Now, we are back again to where we were. And at this moment, I want to look at the column called Sales Channel. Okay, let me say Order Priority. Order Priority. I have some data. I have low, canceled, high, low, canceled, high, medium. So that means I have repetition there as well. So let me select that place. And then I'm going to Home tab, and then I'm coming to Reduce Columns or Reduce Rows, and I'm opening the rows. And then within that drop down, I have Remove Duplicates. Remove duplicates. Now, when I click on Remove Duplicates, see what happens. My data has been reduced to just 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 things. And then those 5 things are, I now have unique values. I have low, canceled, high, and medium. So I don't have repetition again of that particular event. So if I have interest trying to see where I have duplicates, or I'm scared, I'm not sure if there's a duplicate or there are no duplicates, I can actually use this method to go over it and then see where I have my duplicates. Great. Yeah, I'm rounding up. Yeah, great. Please, are you with me? I hope you are following.
Yes,
Great.
following.
All right, great. Please, once you are confused, please do prompt my attention so that I'll be able to help out. All right, I'm back again. Now, the next thing I could do is, all right, so I want to, maybe it's my regions I want to see where I have duplicates. For example, what I did before, and I was telling you that if I want to count how many regions, make them unique to see how many regions I have, okay, maybe I can come here and start counting it, but I can equally even from the other place do it. So I select here my regions, and then I come to Remove Rows, and then I say Remove Duplicates. Once I say Remove Duplicate, it's going to make it unique. So I have now, I know that I have, this is the number of regions I have. I have South Africa, Europe, Middle East, Sub-Saharan. Now you see that Sub-Saharan Africa is here again, and then there's a break from the text Sub-Sahara. Then the person who is entering the data press the enter key, and then before he started entering, and when he pressed the enter key, he still pressed space. There's a space bar after before the A. That's row 4. I'm on row 4. There's a space bar before the A. Now, when you come to row 6, you see that he did the same thing. He wrote Sub-Sahara and then pressed enter key, and immediately he started typing Africa. So because of that, we have 3 instances of the same thing. So if I want to correct it, I have to use trim and clean to correct it. All right, so because I didn't use clean, remember I only used string. That was what I used. All right, so now this, I have instances of it. One is Sub-Saharan Africa, I have Europe, I have Middle East, I have Asia, I have Central America, Australia, and North America. So this is how many regions I have present in my data set. So this will give me a quick view of my unique values that I have in my data set. So taking away everything I have in form of, all right, thanks, in form of duplicates. Great. Now let me see this guy, bringing it back. Great. All right, so I want to see this. Great, now I have done clean. Let me undo what I did before. Now please do look, check the row number 6 on my data, row number 6, and then row number 11. That's where I have those problems, row number 6 and row number 11. Now I'm going to clean, I want to clean. So when I go, I'm selecting this column called regions, and then I go back to, remember, my transform tab, and I come to test column group. I open my formats and I clean on clean. Now, once I clean, if you come back again, look at that column number 6, row number 6, you see that it's now one word. There's no, the enter key has been removed. Look at 11.2, the enter key has been equally removed. So with this, I am sure that now I have one instance. So let me go back now and say, let's open this place. And then let me go back to home tab. And then let's say I want to select duplicates. I want to remove all duplicates, Now you can see that I now have one instance of Sub-Saharan Africa, not 2, not 3 again, because I've converted all of them to what it should be. So please don't take note of some of these things. Now, if you look at row number 6, row 6, I have null values. There is nothing in that row. Everything is empty. Everything is empty. Now, for me to get rid of it, because I don't need it, what I will do is I come back the same place again. Rows, and I say remove blank rows. See, the blank rows have been removed. So what I've done now, let me say I want to check my data set because I want to bring back everything. Okay, great. So let me say remove duplicates. Okay, I want to get rid of that. Yeah, delete that. Great. So now within my data sets, I won't have blank rows again. Let me say I want to sort this again. Let me say I want to sort this from descending to ascending, because that was what I did before. I had those null values before. See that now there's no null values again. Everything has been filled up because I've removed all the blank rows. So when you have blank rows, please, that is how you deal with it. You come to the rows, remove rows, anything you want to remove duplicates, remove blank rows, remove errors. If there are errors in your data set, it's going to track it and remove it. That's why this is one of the easiest way or places where you can actually work on your data. It's very easy. Just like I said last week, the only problem you may encounter, the first is trying to identify where the patterns are, where they've kept them. Once you're able to get yourself familiarized with this interface, with these buttons, you'll be very free. And then in a matter of minutes or less than an hour, you're going to get your data clean and then very, very cool for you to use. So if you look at my data now, you see that they're all green. Those empty rows are all gone. I don't have anything again as maybe errors or invalid data. All those things I've been taken care of because I've been able to do the right thing. Yeah, so I can go back again and then say, actually want you to sort this for me in an ascending order. And then it's going to sort it for me ascending order. So depending on what I want to do, I can actually get it done for myself. All right, great. So now that is how we deal with duplicates. So when you want to remove duplicates, please, you just come to remove rows and then you see duplicates there, it's going to track all the duplicates you have and it's going to take them out. And then you are going to have just one instance of your data set. All right. But do remember that it's not every time you'll be doing that, because there are certain times, like our data here now, we need the repetition of the data, those duplicates for our analysis. We can only be interested in. All right, sure, we're going to do that. Yes, we're going to explain. There's a question here, explain how to divide order date and ID and turn it into 2 columns, like you said. Sure, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Thank you. All right, so next is, let me go back again. So we've been able to see how that guy works. Sorry. I'm sharing my screen again so that we'll continue with our presentation. Please, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Great. So the next thing is splitting. Split, that's exactly what a good friend was asking. We should explain how split is done. So we're going to explain how to split data. So in an event where, let's say I've given someone data to a form to go and fill for me, I have a column for first name and last name and then other data. And then I've realized that you have actually combined first name and last name together in one column, and I want to split it. So what should I do? How do I go around it? That's what I want to do the next time. So split is a function that's, split is a function that allows us to disintegrate a column that contains many values into multiple columns for easier interpretation. Yeah, it will help us to be able to interpret our data easily. And then for us to go over it, the steps are here. Go to the transform. When you get to the transform page, or even from the home page, you can still get access to that. You go to add columns groups, you have formats, you have extract, choose options, whichever one you want to do, we're going to do. So let's just go there straight and then see how we'll work on that. And then we'll be fine. Great. So I'm sharing this. All right, please kindly explain how you remove the Sub-Saharan Africa again. All right, so how I removed the Sub-Saharan Africa where there were repetition is this. I said the best way of doing it is, so select the column where you have that event, that instance, or that problem. All right, so when you select it, you come to your home tab, come to reduce rows, and when you open remove rows, you see this is remove rows. Open it. When you open it, you see there's one called, sorry, not here, please. You go to transform, please. Transform tab. On that transform tab, you come to text to columns, and then you come to this tab called formats. When you open format, you see clean. Clean is going to do that for you. So when you choose clean, it's going to clean everything for you. That's what I used, and I was able to correct it. Yeah, thank you. I hope that answers your question. So the next thing we want to look at is splits. So, and then there's a case study here, and that case study is this column where we'll have, this column where we'll have dates and ID all together in one column. So person probably was doing in haste or whatever thing, but whatever reason, and then he has entered 2 values that should be separate in one column. So we need to split them. And then looking at this data, we actually have some problem. There are some problem within this data. The problem is, if you look at it, some place he have used hyphen. He used hyphen. Some other place he used space. Some other place he clicked enter before even the hyphen. So this person, I think the day he did this data entry, something happened. Maybe he wasn't, some days he wasn't happy. Some days he was equally happy. All right, but Power Query gives us a very light way of solving this problem, very easy way of solving it. If you are to use normal Excel, I've used normal Excel sometimes to solve the same issue. It took me a whole lot of time, about 5 to 6 steps before I was able to get it right. But here, it's just in a matter of 2 to 3 steps and we are done. So the first thing we do is select the column. Once you select the column you are interested on splitting, you say you come to either the home tab or the transform tab, whichever place you are, you will still be able to do it. If you're on the transform tab, you come to column splits. You have column splits here. You can split by delimiter, you can split by position, you can split by anything of your choice. All right, so if I say split by delimiter, what I mean? So I have delimiters like @, yeah, that the tab key. When you press the tab key and you start typing, that's the delimiter. You have comma, you have semicolon, you have this dash, you have space. These are delimiters. All right, so if those things have been used in spacing the data, then you can say, I want to split it by delimiter. That will work. Now, there's another one, number of characters. If I want to split based on number of characters, I want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters, or 1, 2, 3 characters. But please, before you start using number of characters, do make sure that you have consistency in your data. For example, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I count the next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm sure that the first data set is 5. Because they are 5, I'm sure that if I'm going to use number of characters, I'll be correct. I'll be fine. I won't have problem. So I can use that. Now there's another one there too. The other one by position. First position, maybe I'm looking at maybe from this 0 to 10, 0 to 2. I can use that. I have lowercase to uppercase. If my data contains, they started from lowercase to uppercase, I can use that. I equally have the next one, digits to non-digits. I want to start from digits to non-digits. If that is what I want to do, I can exactly that's what I want to use for this case. So I'll use digits to non-digits and then I click on it. Immediately I do that, you see it has splitted it for me. Now I have the first column, I have another column. Now when I come to the next column, I still have spaces and I still have those hyphen. I don't need it. So what I do is I still select that place too, and then I go to the same place again I did the first one. I go back there, transform, and then I go to split column, and then I'm going to use non-digits. When I say non-digits, you see, these are the non-digits. So the non-digits is going to take care of spaces, those space dash or the symbol he has used, every other thing he has used till I get to digits. So even if he has used symbols and any other character that is not a digit, it will extract all those things and keep them in this column for me. Now what I'll do, because I don't need this one, I'll delete it, remove. Now I have my data splitted. Now I know that this is dates, so I right click on this or I double click on it. When I double click, I say other dates. Then I remove the rest of them and then press my enter to accept it, get to the next one, and then say this is order ID. Order ID. And then I say enter. So please, that is how we'll deal with that. What if I use clean? Could I remove the small dashes? You can try it. You can try it. You can try it. Okay. You can try it. So, but this is the fastest, one of the easiest way of working around it. So with this, you see, just in 3 steps, we've been able to split the data. And then now I can convert this back again to data type. The data type, it should be dates. Error. That's great. So I shouldn't have done it that way. Should have first of all change it to dates and time. Date and time. No, why? Remove this. Okay, let me make it text first. Make sure it's text. Text, but it's already text. Text, okay. Now let me convert it to dates. Yeah. Wow, why? Convert this. or date and time. Why? Okay. I'm trying to change this. Okay, this is whole numbers. Let me see. Okay, great. Then change it to dates. Add a step. Great. So now I tried doing it the other way around, and then it's actually wasn't working for me. And then sometimes it's good to have some errors with you whilst we work. The whole numbers, it should be whole numbers. Yeah. So I've been able to do that. And then now you see, now I have my dates correctly formatted. So order date is here. Now I have my order ID, I have my ship date. So if I go over the next of the data, I should be able to see how those things are done. So if I have any other data I need to change to the right data type, this is the step I'll use to change them to the right data type they need. All right, I'm going back to share the last screen, the last section of our data work. And then that will be share the next thing. And then that is merge. Now, in an event where we need to combine few things together, all right, we have so many columns scattered everywhere. We want to combine them, group them together in a way that it will be easy for us to go around. How do you do it in this same place? It's very easy for us to do. So we use what we call custom column. You see, custom column. We're going to be using it just to work. All right. So it's a function that allows us to combine more than one column to form a new column in Power Query. That's exactly what it does. And then this is the steps we're going to do. So let me do that quickly. And then doing that again, share our screen. Great. So this time, now, before you start doing this, please do note that the two columns you want to combine must be of the same data type. All right. For example, now initially I had my date ID and order ID as one place, and then it works. But at this moment, I have them as different data type. Now I have date type and I have numbers, text. So I use that. So I needed, now if I'm going to combine this same data together again, I need to convert two of them to the same data type. That's one thing. All right. So if I want to combine them, I can change this one to text again. If I change both to text, I can combine them. All right. So, but I want to use a different data for you. All right. So I want to pull in another data type, another data set or automatically, not this data set. So I'll be able to use it to do something different. All right. Great. So of course, once I'm done with it here, I've finished what I'm going to do here. I load my data, close and load. That's what I do. That will show me that I'm done with my cleaning for this particular data, and then it will be loaded back again for me here on my data table. All right, great. So I want to pull in another data, and then the data I want to pull in now is still from this place. I hope it's still Excel file. I want to pull in a data called all right, so the data I want to pull is data called I'm looking for my data. All right, let me change my type. Let's see if I'm going to see it. Text and CSV files. Good. All right, customer, yeah, credit customers. Hey, someone is still joining us by now. All right. So I want to pull in data called credit customers, import. Great. And then see this really this data I need. No, this is not the data. No, not this. Next file. Just a minute, please. There's a data I'm interested on for us to use. I want a data that contains first name and last name so that we can see how great. So if I want to combine them, so I'm loading this data, transform. And then we're going to use it for the last section of our data, of our work. Great. So as I spec through my data, I already have it's 100% full. So I don't have much problem with that. And then I can inspect the data types, of course, trying to see if everything is correct. If they're not correct, I'll have to work on the data types. But for this purpose, I just want us to look at columns. So I have given name, and then I have surname. So I want to combine both given name and surname together in one column, all right? So that I can reduce the number of columns I have. Maybe I just want to make the thing to be concise for me to be able to, on a glance, see everything that is happening within my data. So if that is my intention, I go to this group, this tab called Add Columns. Add Columns. Now, add columns, I have so many things I can do. As you use it and then you play along with these functions, they'll become very easy for you to work with. And then you'll be able to see and know where each button is, each function is, and you'll be able to use them adequately to work. So please just explore the Power Query. Don't be scared. Of course, you can always have a step back. Once you make a mistake and you're not sure of what you've done, click close what you've done and you go back to the previous data or previous step where you are. Don't be afraid, don't be scared exploring this environment because it's going to help you. Yes, if there's any problem, if there's any event, you can always close and go back. But then just make sure you explore to see what are the capacity, the functionalities that you have available for you here. So for this purpose, I'm using custom column. So I click on custom columns. And when I click on custom columns, I can give the column a name. So let me say, I want it to be called full name. Maybe that's what I want it to be called, full name. And then now I have custom column formula. This is where I'll add the formula that's going to join those two columns together for me. And how do I do it? It's very easy for me to do. When I press my curly brackets, this square bracket, once I open my square bracket, open it, it will pull up all the data for me. So I'm looking for surname. If I want to use surname first, then I'll pick surname first. If I want to use given name first, then I'll pick given name first. So let me use given name first, given name. So I my enter key to add it. And then I add my ampersand just to create a space that is for concatenating. Use this to concatenate, all right? So concatenating means to join, all right? So, and then I want to add some space. Now I clicked this, my double quotation, I clicked end space bar in my keyboard so that it will create a space. If I refuse to click space bar, there will not be space between the two words. So I've clicked the space bar so that I'll create a space between the first word and then the second word. Now I'll now add the next one, that's ampersand, and then open my bracket and then say surname. Surname. That's what I have to do. I'll finish. Once I do this, then I say, okay. Now it's going to create a column called full name and then pull the data for me into that column. Great. So this is my full name now. So you see, I have Charles, Alexander, John, Jones, and then Eric. So in that order. So that is combining the first and the last. So if the first and then the surname. So if that is what I want to do, this is the simple way of doing it. Thank you. So if I have interest again, combining another thing, anything I want to combine, the same principle, the same method, I can use it to do that. So let's say in this case, I want to combine username and password. Username and password. What do? I'll go back there. And then this place, I call it user credentials. Maybe I just want to call it user credentials and then come back here and they say, I want you to combine for me username and then space and then password. Great. And then I say, okay. See that? So it combines it for me here as well. I have the username and then I have the password. So that is how we can, when you have interest, want to group certain columns together to form another single column. This is the simplest way of doing it. In fact, Power Query makes our work extremely easy for us. We don't have to write a whole lot of codes. Yeah, when you get to Power BI, there's some small section where you are going to learn how to write code called DAX. That's code. Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to implement when we are here. And then you're having this place we are going to type formulas. You enter the DAX formula. There's a formula, some formulas, but there are simple things to do. Some basic things you are going to do, just like what we are doing here. You press the curly bracket, it pulls the data for you. You select what you need, add what you need, remove what you don't want, and you say, okay, it's as easy as that. So Excel has actually made our work very easy for us once we are able to know how to navigate ourselves around the Power Query using the normal functions we need to use. And then we're going to get our data very easy and smooth for us to use. So please, I'm all ears listening for your questions. Do ask your question now, and then I'm going to attend to them as we wait for some other comments. Please do ask your questions.
Hello, Jude. I have a few questions.
All right.
In the beginning of the lecture, you were counting the data set from the region. My question is, what if they are more than 8? We counted them, they were 8 regions, but what if they were 50? I usually use pivot table to make a quick count if I need to count a lot of data. So how can we do it from the Power Query?
Okay.
That's my first question.
All right. Next question, please.
Okay, so regarding the null value in the cells, because I've tried the Power Query in one of my sheets, and in the original sheet, the cells had formulas, but when I used it in Power Query, it appears as a null value. So what I'm asking is, does the sheet necessarily mean that the cell formats aren't all adjusted, or that just Power Query doesn't read formulas?
All right. So because, okay, let me start from the first time. Now, when you see the regions are 8. Okay, let me go back to that data. And then let me pull it. Yeah. So the regions, these are the regions, correct? Now, you see, our intention is wanted to, yes, if I want to count the regions, counts actually does something different. What counts does is it tries to look at each instance. So Sub-Saharan Africa, it will count how many times has Sub-Saharan Africa repeated in our data set. That is what count we do for us. So if I have 10 instances of Sub-Saharan Africa, it will write Sub-Saharan Africa here, and then to write how many times it has occurred for us, maybe 10 times or 2 or 3. That is what count we do. But that is not our intention. What we want to know is uniquely, how many regions do we have? Is it in our data set, we have maybe, even though we know that we have repetitions of some of the regions, they've repeated, but uniquely, how many regions we have? So that if we say we have Sub-Saharan Africa, then we can now say how many times has Sub-Saharan Africa repeated in our data sets. It's different from saying what are the regions we have. What are the regions we have means give me uniquely Asia, Europe, Sub-Saharan Africa, this. That's what I want to see when I ask you what are the regions we have in our data set. But if I'm asking you what are the instances, how many instances has each region occurred, that is where we're going to use count. And so we are now looking at if we pick Asia, we'll count how many times they've occurred. Count is equally here. We can equally apply count here. Hopefully, I'm sure probably in the next class, we're going to look at how to count. Is equally here. We can count. Yeah, so that is that. Now, when you come to the other instance, if you have a formula, maybe in our Excel file, we've actually used formula to populate a particular column. And then when we pull the data inside our Power Query, please let me attend to your question so that I don't forget. All right, so so please do write your questions. I'm attending to them. Let me finish this. Now, if we use formulas in our normal Excel file to pull data from different columns, and then we pull the data inside Power Query, and it is telling us null values, the non-null values. There are certain things we can do. One of the things we can do is, if you are the one who wrote, if you already know the file, the formula you need to write your query to pull the data, it's as simple as still writing the same formula here and then pulling the data back. For example, like what we did, we just say, okay, let's say I want to say add A plus C plus D for me, and then give me the answer in a particular place. We can do it. Or we can use, maybe you want to say if B and C are the same thing. Maybe if we're looking at some criteria and we're trying to say if this is this and the other one is that, want this to happen. We can equally do them. In fact, Power Query gives us an advanced edge or possibility of how to go around those things. It's easier to be done in Power Query, even more than it is done in normal Excel file, working with Excel. So Power Query has been actually designed to do that. So if you have any challenge doing that, actually, I forgot to, when we started, I wanted to raise that concern and then address it because I saw your comments last time, but I wanted to address it so that every other person will be able to hear and then see how to work around it. So if you have any challenge, you have pulled some data and you've realized that this data I pulled from Excel or from CSV or from JSON or from different database. When I've pulled it here, a particular column that they have used formula to populate is not being present. Just write the formula for yourself. Just, if the easiest thing you can do or the hardest thing you can do is Google it, how to formula for doing this in Power Query, it will come. A lot of people have done it. So, but depending on what you want to do, you can always let me know. I'll help you in doing it, and then you'll be able to get it done. Now, the next question here is, this person is saying, what if, okay, I've used that, we've answered that. It's saying, okay, we should go over the custom column again, custom column. All right, so the custom column is very good in an event where we want to combine two or more columns together. We have column A, column C, column D, column B. We want to combine either two or more together. What you do is what I have done. So first, you click on custom columns, and when you click on custom column, then it will load. It will load, and when it loads, it gives you this interface. Then enter the name you want that column to be called. When it finishes, what's the new name you want the column to answer? Now, when you finish doing that, then where you have custom column is where you select the columns you want to join. All right, so how do you select? Press your square bracket. Your square bracket is just below, okay, after the P, the letter P on your keyboard. The letter P on your keyboard, that's where the square bracket is. So you press on that key, and then you have your square bracket open. Now, when it opens, it will list all the columns you have, the column heads. It will list all of them for you. All right. So when it lists everything for you, you now select the columns you want to join together. So let's say at this point, if I want to join, what should we join together, please? Someone should suggest for me. What should we join? What should we combine? Some suggestions? Anyone?
I'll need to read the column headers first.
Okay, have total costs, have total profits, have total revenue, have unit cost, unit price, unit sold, country, item type, order dates, order ID, order priority, and region.
Okay, let's go with order date and order ID.
All right, perfect. Order dates. And then now, if I want to add space between them, that is when I have to bring in the ampersand. The ampersand, you press the shift key on your keyboard and press the letter 7, where you have 7 on your keyboard. That's where the ampersand is. So you press it and then you get your ampersand. Then if you like to get space, no problem. If you don't like, then you press your double quotation, double quotes. Of course, the double quotes too is just below the square bracket. The square bracket. See, the square bracket is before, after P. Now your square, the double quotes is after the letter M, M for mangoes or M for man. Yeah, so what that is, that's where it is. So when you click on it, then you press space bar on your keyboard so that you give space. Now you add the same ampersand again because you are combining few things together. So the next one I want to add is order ID. So order ID, and then I say enter. That's all. So if I still want to add another one, I still say ampersand, and then possibly do this again, and then come out, and then say add this, and then add another things again. Sorry. Open this. You see, it's going to open up again. I have to add. So until I'm done, I'll be fine. So let me say this time I want to add priority, order priority. And then when I finish, I say, okay. So remember the name is going to be called custom. It's going to create it for us. Wow, some error. Okay, different data type. That's correct. I forgot. Please do remember, they should all be of the same data type. If not, they're not going to work, because if dates and order ID are not the same type, so they won't work. So let's use the one that has the same order, the same data type. So let's say this, and I will say units sold. Great. And then let's say and then let me say this, and then let me say unit sold, and then let's say total revenue. Okay, unit sold, unit price. Unit price, that'd be good. All right. Great. Really, what's the problem? So let me see the data type for unit sold and unit price. Unit sold, unit price is here. Okay, not the same data type. That's great. So, okay, let me change data type first. I remove this. So unit price, this is unit price, and it is, the type is decimal. And then when I come to unit sold, the type is whole number. See, that is why we can't use both, because they're the same, they're not the same data type. This one is called whole numbers, and then units price is decimal. So we can't use both together, but we can work with unit costs and unit price. So let's use unit cost and unit price. Please just keep adding your questions. I will attend to all of them, please. Hopefully. So let me say units price. Unit price. And then unit costs. What is that? Unit costs is decimal. And then units price is decimal. So what is the problem? Unit price. Okay. Let me go write that again. Add column, custom column. Units price, comma, and then units costs, unit cost, unit price. Okay. Let's better this. Okay. And then put this. All right, I'll look over that. Let me attend to some other questions. I'll look over that, please. All right, so let me get to next one. Regions and country, yes, going to work. So, all right. Would it be possible to have time in the feature sections or get a homework task that would enable us to put what we've learned into practice? I would enjoy a, okay. I can see this, a chairperson, okay, to perform some of the tasks we've learned about on data sets that you have given us, okay, if it will be possible. Sure, I'll be sending you some data sets to practice with. Is Power Query Editor a software we have to install, or is an application that one can simply download? It's part of Excel. If you have installed Excel and then you have Excel 2019/2021, like I told you to install, Power Query is there. Just use what I've told you the last time to pull up your data. And then once you go to data, imports, and importing your data is part of what you're going to see. Yes, if you use region for what you're doing, you're going to combine, to be possible. Yes, I've tried combining units, cost, and price, but it was equally messing up. So no problem, I'll work on that. All right. All right, so that is it for now. Thank you so much for your time. And then if there's any other concern, please do drop them on the comment on the Connect platform. I'll be coming around there to help solve most of the issues that will be coming up. Thank you so much.